the Dog Witch podcast, where we help you create happy, healthy, and relaxed dogs.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Dog Witch podcast with me, your host Lisa McCabe. And today I am here with a fabulous guest. I have Suzanne Ulf from The Curious Wolf. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
So, Suzanne, could you just start us off just by introducing yourself and your business and just letting us know a little bit about what you do?
I will do, but actually, do you know what I'm thinking? I'm going to start with my business name because that actually links to what we're talking about today as well, which is quite fascinating. So the business name is The Curious Wolf, and that came up from a meal out with my husband and quite a lot of wine, and us like just throwing names at each other about what we were going to call this new business and things. And then everything kept on coming back to what's one of the most important things in our life, and it's our dogs. Because we have two at the moment. We had one previously to that as well, and our dogs are so important to us. And the Curious Wolf is originally the first dog, the first wolves that came to the fireside, and actually made that connection with human beings. And then we have our domesticated dogs from that, from back in those days. So that's where the Curious Wolf kind of comes from, plus also my name being Ulf means wolf as well. So there's that kind of link. So when we actually thought of that, come up with that name, it seemed like that makes a total sense to actually call a business that because it links in with what's important to me.
That's absolutely amazing. It's such a cool story behind it, and I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah,
realise that.
I know it's something I don't
I
talk about much. I should probably a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, with my first kind of business, when I first started working with dogs, we had mine, it was Stardust Dog Walking, and people just thought because I was a bit witchy and stuff like that, and it actually wasn't. It was because our dog was called Ziggy, and we
Mhm.
were
Of course.
obviously huge Bowie fans, but Life on Mars was very, very
Uh-huh.
prominent at the time. It was very popular at the time, so it was a kind of ode to the character Gene Hunt, and that's where
Uh-huh.
that came about.
All
So
right, cool. No, that
that's
is
where that
good.
that kind of came about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. But then obviously when I moved along and became the dog witch, it didn't really kind of fit in with the holistic
Yeah.
stuff, like Stardust didn't really kind of say what I
Yeah.
did.
What you're
So
actually
that
doing,
was
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But
Exactly.
anyway, sorry, I've
So,
derailed
yeah,
that
no.
conversation.
Absolutely fine. So that's the name of the business, but what I do is based really on writing, all round writing. So I help people write books mainly. So whether that's business books or novels, they're the two genres that I mainly focus on just now. I teach creative writing, I run writing and journaling clubs. So everything I do is based around writing and like basically helping people express themselves and be able to everybody that we know that has a business is absolutely amazing at it, but they think they maybe can't write on it. So I just bridge that gap and help them be able to show what it is they do and why they do it and all these kind of a things. So it's all
And
exciting.
that's super interesting. How did you become aware that you were good at this? Like how did the business come about?
So, well, interestingly, I had been in education for like 20 odd years teaching writing, of all in all different kind of styles and things. So, and when I left that, I had an idea that I was going to start doing some kind of writing clubs and it was going to be about helping people to, connect with other people, connect with themselves, all these kind of things. That was what I left teaching to do. But then the massive curveball was I left teaching 3 months before lockdown. So,
Um,
you couldn't do any of these kind of clubs. You couldn't do any of that kind of thing. I didn't have any business knowledge really at that point at all. I didn't have a business network. I didn't have any of these kind of things. So the next few years was me just kind of focusing in on all the different things that I could do. Like I did a Facebook ads course for my husband and I had got a wedding stationery business. So I was doing lots of different things, but everything was pulling me back to I want to do something about writing. And what I found was I began to develop more of a kind of business network at like online and then local, in-person meetups with people. And most of the times you would meet somebody who was wanting to write a book but had no idea where to start. So I tended to spend quite a lot of time with people giving lots of free advice about where you would start, how you would start, the things to think about, the things to keep you going, all that kind of thing. And then I thought, I wonder if I put out like a strategy session, a 90-minute strategy session, if this would be something that people would be interested in. So I just put a post up in LinkedIn and put out five. I said I've got five going of this if anybody wants them. All five had been booked within 24 hours. So that gave me an idea that,
wow.
okay, people are looking for this kind of thing. So it's actually
Yeah.
naturally evolved from that. I've done a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of, planning to see what it is that's going to help people and do that and work with people to get to where they need to be. So now the first kind of lot of books are going to be coming out January, February next year, which is all going to be brilliant to see them.
Oh, that's so cool. And yeah, that I mean that must have been scary, like the kind of lockdown thing, because I kind of had a bit of that as well, because
Yeah.
I still, although I was doing a lot of holistic stuff at the time, I still had my dog walking business, and it was like, uh-oh, nobody needs a dog walker anymore because everyone's home. It was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
what am I gonna do? But like you,
Mm.
I used it as an opportunity. It was like, right, how can I make this? Because I'd always been doing the holistic stuff at the side, but never had enough time to implement it.
Yeah.
And that gave me the total, like the time and the platform to just go away and learn everything that I needed to learn. So you've
Yeah.
kind of done the same. You used that time to learn and
Yeah.
kind of really niche down on your business.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. It was blooming hard though. It was really hard. When you've
Oh
worked for
yeah.
like 25 years or so and paid tax and everything and then find out that you're entitled to nothing because you're recently self-employed, that was hard to take, really hard to take. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what do I
Mm,
do? How do I
I
pay the bills?
know.
But you
I know.
you manage, don't you? You kind of you just
I
get
know,
through
you manage.
somehow.
It's amazing, and I think in some ways it's quite good because it shows you, well, not good, but it gives you a good indication of how resilient you actually are, and what you do actually need as well compared to what you think you do. I think sometimes when you're in a salaried position, you absolutely can't see past that. You can't see how you can survive past that. I don't think I could see past that, but actually, it's amazing what you can do, if you have to. How you can build
Yeah.
different things, and I don't actually think my business would be where it is without having that absolute, like, there isn't an option here. It has to actually work. So it does make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's totally it. When you're preaching to the converted, because both myself and my husband are self-employed. We were
Yeah,
just lucky that
absolutely.
he was considered a key worker, so he was able to still go and run his business, and he's a journalist, so he was able to kind of still do his work. So we were kind of one of the lucky ones. We were okay. We were fine, and I was just at home demented with the kids.
Yeah.
Homeschooling is definitely not for me.
Oh no, no, definitely not.
Um, so what do you love most about your business? Like what likes because you're so passionate about it, like it comes across when you're chatting, but what is it that lights you up? What do you love?
I think there's like a particular moment when I've been working with people for a wee while, and at first, because they're primarily business owners, or even if they're novelists, they tend to be first-time novelists. So they don't hugely see themselves as writers even. So there's that kind of like the first kind of month or so working with them to make them realize that, yes, you are a writer. Yes, you can call yourself that. But then there's a kind of like switch that happens after a short while where suddenly they can see themselves as an author and they can call themselves an author. And that's an amazing thing because that's just that empowerment, that feeling of, well, you are. You may not be published yet, but you're going to be, and you are actually doing it. So I love that. I really love that point of it.
That sounds fabulous. And like in my head, I'm getting quite excited about that because I will definitely be seeking you out at some point over the next year, I think, because
Brilliant.
I lots of ideas to put into a book,
Mhm.
especially about holistic dog care and the journey that I've kind of been on with my dogs as well. But I like that I've no idea where to start.
Well,
So
that would be amazing because any book about dogs is one that I would be absolutely happy to be involved with, definitely.
I think like could you just kind of talk us through so the listeners can get a wee bit of understanding, like how does it work? Like if someone comes to you just totally like brand new, like how does the process work? What does it look like?
Well, there's lots of different ways in. So if we're talking about actually writing a book, whether it's novel or business, if we're talking about that kind of thing, I'll usually have a discovery call for a bit. That might then lead on to a book strategy session where we cover the key areas of like your why, your message, your key argument, your core ideas, these kind of a things. We cover those, and then sometimes people can go and write themselves from that. Um, or the next stage would be doing a book proposal half day. So if you're going for traditional publishing, you need to have a proper book proposal written with a query letter. But I always do that with anybody I'm working with long term. I always do that anyway because I think it really, really gets you thinking about exactly what you're writing, why you're writing it, what the structure should be like. and also gets you thinking about like the marketing side of things and all of that as well, because you do have to be aware of that, whether traditionally or self-published. You still have to build your audience for it. It still is a book in its own right in some ways. So we look at all that kind of a thing as well. And again, then some people can go and do it themselves, or some people stay with me. If people stay with me, I then have a 6-month package where we basically write the book together. We go through, we have strategy sessions, we talk through like the next bit of writing. We've mapped out the whole book, then we break it down into small sections. We talk about what's going to be in that, why it's going to be there, what it needs to feel like, all that kind of stuff. And then the writers I work with go away and write it, then they'll submit it to me for developmental editing, and I'll give lots of feedback, and that will go back, and then so it'll go on. I mean, that is the best way of doing it, to be honest, because if you do it that way, then you don't go off in tangents, you don't get lost, you don't get confused. It's not easy to write a book, it is a big challenge.
Yeah.
So it's something that I do believe it works better if you're working with either me or somebody else who can be with you through the process, because it amazes me that, some of the people that I'm working with, really successful business people, really, really successful, like they've built things from the ground up themselves, still have limiting beliefs about how well they can write about themselves. So it's
Uh,
that kind of nurturing, well-being, supportive element that I think is really important as well. Because the worst thing that can be done is a whole book is written, the whole manuscript is there, and then people are looking for editing. That it's not always possible to edit a book if there hasn't been proper structure put into it in the first place. So building
yeah.
it up step by step instead of getting to the end and trying to change it all from that end is why I do what I do, because I want to help people not get to that point. I want to help people feel good in the
Yeah.
process. So yeah.
Yeah, oh, that all sounds amazing, like proper kind of like guidance and
Yeah.
just kind of a natural path. Because you're talking about tangents, I'm very much one that I can just go off. I'll start
Yeah.
chatting to you about dogs, and like 3 hours later, we could be talking about something totally
Yeah.
different. So I need
Yeah.
to be reined. I need to be reined in. So that's like
Uh-huh.
amazing. And I know as well as like the book writing stuff, you do like other parts of your business as well, don't you? You've got like journaling clubs and things like that too, don't you? So kind of talk to us about the other elements.
Yeah, so I do a daily journaling prompt because, again, I would meet lots of people who want to journal but don't really know where to start, or would buy a journal and not really stick to it and things. So I was trying to think of something that I could do that simplified it as much as possible. So what I do is it's a WhatsApp broadcast channel, and a prompt comes in every morning, sometime between 7 and 9 a.m., just something round about then, never later than 9 a.m. And you've got that prompt for the day. It's not a chat, so it means that no matter what time you open that chat in your phone, the last thing that's there is the prompt for that day. So it's been getting really positive feedback. So people maybe don't write on it every single day, but they think about it, and that's part of it that's important as well. So it kind of came from one of the things that I did during lockdown was a kind of self-mastery course, a well-being course for me, like finding out more about yourself, because I just felt really lost from having been a teacher to then suddenly being in this lockdown, not got an income type position,
Yeah.
which was really hard mentally to deal with. So I worked with Andrea for like 6 months on that. So it comes from that positive psychology, all the kind of things that just help you feel more connected with yourself, better about yourself, more aware of things that you're doing that actually are bloody brilliant, instead of always thinking that we don't do that much, but we really do. So it kind of does that it's that connection piece, really. So yes, so
Yeah,
that's what I do daily. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like journaling is such a powerful tool, isn't it? I mean,
Uh,
I've found like over the years, it's definitely helped with my mental health. And as you say, sometimes you
absolutely.
think, oh, I've not really achieved very much, but then when you actually start kind of writing and thinking about it, you're like, oh, I was blooming amazing today.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And I think as well, like even the basics of gratitude, you can think, oh, it's been a really rubbish day. And then you think about what you're grateful for. And actually there's loads of things that you can be grateful for as well.
Yeah.
And that just switches your mind. It makes you cope, makes you more resilient, makes everything work better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as well, sometimes I've had my friends in my gratitudes. I've been thankful for them, and I've just like dropped them a little text and said, "Oh, listen, I've just done my journaling for
Yeah.
today, and I was really grateful for you doing X, Y, and Z." And then that makes them feel better. They're a bit like,
Absolutely.
"Wow, thank you so much." So you're
Yeah.
kind of doing good for everybody.
Totally, because then it's a ripple effect because you've made them feel really good. They're more likely to compliment somebody else or be kinder in the way they respond to something or whatever, and it just all ripples out, doesn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's lovely. And we've talked about all the nice things and how positive it is, but is there anything that you don't like about your business?
No, not really. Well, social media, I'm not a massive fan of
Oh,
finding that, but yeah. I think it's
oh, who
the
is?
time and the feeling that you're shouting out into the void a bit sometimes, but I also know that
Yeah.
people have come to me via it, so yeah, I would stick to that. But no, I think I genuinely feel hugely privileged that I'm in a position where I've built a business exactly as I want it to be, and it's absolutely, down to me what I do in it and how I change it and how it
Yeah.
works. And I'm expanding it out at the moment with the Curious Wolf Collective, which I'm really excited about. And that's, every expert you could possibly need from first idea of a book right through to, standing on a stage and speaking about it. So it's,
Uh-huh.
we've got publishers, we've got editors, we've got speaker coaches, we've got photographers, we've got everything you could possibly imagine as a collective working together to help people. So that is working really nicely because if people are working with me on their manuscript, it's really nice for them, for me to be able to say like this person next, then that person, and then there's no issues with trust, like they know that
Yeah.
they're going to get people that are pre-verified, they are top of their game, they are ethical, they are aligned, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really loving that part of it. So no, I can't actually think of anything I don't I don't really like that much.
Yeah, I know. I mean, most people do say, yeah, I hate admin and I hate social media. That's what always comes out of these interviews when I'm
Yeah.
chatting to business owners. I think we're all the same. We get into business to do the things that we love. Like me, I
Uh-huh.
just want to work with dogs. I don't want to be sitting
Uh-huh.
writing social media
No.
posts. And for you just want to help people to,
Uh-huh.
bring their books to life. And that sounds amazing with like the Curious Will Collective,
Mhm.
because it's kind of like a one-stop shop then. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just kind of do the whole thing. So then you're
Mhm.
not panicking about like how am I going to get this published? How am I going to get it
Yeah.
marketed? It's like, hello, I can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what's lovely as well, Heather Offord, who does the growth roadmap, well, she's created a particular
Yeah.
book one just for books, which is lovely as
Right,
well.
okay.
So to know that, it's people that you work with, you trust, all that kind of stuff, it's great. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
really good.
Oh, that's fabulous. So I'm just going to make some notes here because I'll be going to Heather for my roadmap then, and then coming to you for my book. Like, oh geez, here we go. But no, that sounds absolutely amazing. So obviously this is a dog podcast, and I know
Yes,
that you are a dog lover as well as a dog owner.
absolutely.
So could you just chat to me a wee bit about your fur babies? Tell me
Yeah,
who they
so
are, when they came into your life, all that sort of stuff.
okay, right, so we have Rudy and Pixie at the moment. Our first dog was Sasha. I'll talk about her first and then Rudy and Pixie. So Sasha's no longer with us. She died in 2018. So Sasha was our first dog. I'd always wanted a dog, but my mum isn't really into dogs at all. And then my mum and dad divorced, and my dad went to live in Spain and rescued two dogs, which I was really, really, really annoyed about. That, finally there were dogs in the family, but they were in Spain, the south of Spain. So
Oh,
so I always kind of knew that I wanted to have a dog at some point in my life, but in your 20s, is it the right time? Is it the right,
yeah, that's it.
can you give them the proper support and things? But because my husband Richard is self-employed, when we moved to where we are just now, it just seemed like, this could be the right time because he's going to be here. He can be able to take her out for walks and things. So we decided we always knew we would rescue that was always going to be the definite.
Yeah.
So we basically went one weekend to the SSPCA in Glasgow and she was there. And like I absolutely fell in love with her from the first moment that I saw her. It was the weirdest feeling. It was
Oh,
like this obsessive kind of feeling of like this is our dog, she is our dog. And she was a like complete crossbreed, sort of luxury, but just a complete mix of many things. Gorgeous, black and tan, like a wee Glaswegian black and tan dog type thing.
oh,
But she was gorgeous. So Richard doesn't commit to things as easily as me. When he commits fully, but he takes time. So he said, I yeah, let's go to Dogs Trust though and see. And oh, that journey going over to Dogs Trust, I was trying to because I thought I can't do anything that persuades him at all. It has to be that it's his decision too. So I had to just
yeah.
be quiet, and we went, and then we thought let's just go back and see her again. And then we went back and saw her. And she came into a wee room with us, and she peed on my foot, which was quite funny. Um,
Oh,
And then we ended, it was just the right decision and didn't regret it for a second. So she ended up having really serious epilepsy, like really serious fits.
Oh,
So after about a year of having it, I think. So she ended up becoming the dog that was just always with us. Like she was never on her own because she couldn't, if she had a fit, we had to inject her immediately with temazepam and all that kind of
oh,
stuff. It was really serious.
okay.
So I think that created even more of a bond in some ways because
Yeah.
she was just never on her own. She was always with one of us. We used to go to France every summer and she would come with us. So there was that thing
Oh,
of like
amazing.
exploring different places with your own dog as well that was really nice.
Uh-huh.
She was the kind of first heart dog, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. Your story is very, very similar to how
Uh-huh.
we adopted Ziggy. My husband was never really a dog person. I think the as much as growing up he had was a goldfish, whereas my family always had dogs, and I was desperate for a dog. And we went to SSPCA as well, and Ziggy was in a kennel, and he just pushed a little ball along
Uh-huh.
the kennel to me, and I totally fell in love like instantly. But like that, Grant was like, "Oh, we'll have a little think about it," and I'm just like, "Oh, if someone else reserves this dog, I might have to divorce you." You know what I mean?
Totally.
And that was the Friday of the September weekend,
Mhm.
and then they were closed on the Monday, and I was like, "Oh, the whole weekend, like praying that
Uh-huh.
nobody reserved them." But we went back on the Tuesday, and we were able to get
Amazing.
them, and yeah, the rest is history.
It was meant to be.
Um,
Yeah.
Totally. And like that, yeah, I think he was my soul dog,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I
And
know
it's
exactly
interesting
what you mean.
you talk about epilepsy as well, because the other dog that we'd adopted, Zane, and we literally adopted him because he looked like Ziggy, and everyone thought that they were brothers. He
Mhm.
just looked so like him. It was unreal. But that's where the similarities ended,
Yeah.
because whereas I always call Ziggy my Mary Poppins dog, practically perfect in every way, Zane was the polar opposite. It was just like,
Mhm.
oh, what have we done when we brought home? He was nuts. And he's actually the reason that my business exists, because
Mhm.
I needed to know what was going on inside his head.
Yeah.
So that was why I kind of started down the journey that I went, was to help him.
Mhm.
But he had epilepsy as well,
Oh, yeah.
and but we were really lucky. His was able to be controlled through medication, and then
Mhm.
obviously with me doing all my holistic and woo-woo stuff,
Yeah.
he
That really helped
he
as
was he
well.
was really well controlled as he got older.
Mhm.
And I know that you've got your two other babies, so let's talk about them.
Yeah, so we have Rudy. So he's a big lurcher. I'm looking down. He's like got his head right under my feet at the moment. So he's a fairly huge lurcher. We think he's a kind of mix of some kind of greyhound and pointer. I think he's kind of mainly
Oh,
white
he's
with like one
stunning.
big black spotch on one side, and he's got like black in his face and black ears. He is a gorgeous dog. We keep on thinking he should be earning his keep and going out modelling. We joke about him having these kind of model pose and stuff. So he's a big boy, and just the most emotional dog that you could possibly imagine. Like if you have any sense of feeling a bit upset about something or anything before you even show anything, like he's there at your side, he's pushing against you.
He just
Um,
knows.
yeah, he knows, and I have Crohn's, and if I'm in any pain or anything, then he'll be there, he'll be right next to me. I'll wake up during the night and he'll be sleeping right next to me on the bed, like on the ground right there.
Oh,
He's a very, very emotional dog. He's amazing. He's absolutely lovely. Very big cam dog and lovely. So we
oh,
got him
lovely.
from Dogs Trust, and he just came doing his big waggy walk with his massive tail wagging about to us, and we just both fell in love with him immediately. So that was
Oh,
2017 that we got him. So we think he's about 8 or 9 at the moment, we think. You never know completely for sure, but he's round
I
about that.
know.
Yeah, so
Oh, he sounds beautiful.
he's gorgeous. He's amazing. Yeah. And our other dog, Pixie, sounds a bit like some of the experience that you had. So Pixie, we got in May 2019. We weren't particularly looking for another dog really at all. But she was put on Facebook by this couple in Ayr, asking if anybody could take her. And I got in touch with them and said, please, please, please don't like put her on Facebook. Please take her to a rescue centre. Because bait dogs and all the
Yeah,
rest
you
of
never
it, just
know.
please don't do that kind of thing. But there was something about, again, it was like that connection with Sasha. There was something about the photo that we were both just, oh, there's something about this dog. We
You fell for
can't
her.
come to harm. She really can't come to harm. So anyway, then I got back in touch with him the next day and said, um, if you do, can you let us know which rescue centre that you take her to? Because we'd be really interested in, rescuing her kind of thing. And he got back and said, look, I've gone through your Facebook page. It's obvious that you really, really love dogs. Why don't you just come down and take her? So we kind of felt really uncomfortable with that, but it was one of those things of we're uncomfortable with doing that, but equally don't want just somebody random taking her just in case.
Yeah.
So we got the Scottish Greyhound League involved and got them to do a home check on us and things and try and make it as official as we possibly could and go down and meet, the dog and stuff. She was called Honey at that point. We had her for 24 hours before we changed her name. Anyway, so she had been bred by hunters, in Ayrshire, the hunting rabbits,
Uh-huh.
lamping people. So by young guys
Yes, okay.
yeah, that don't look after dogs at all. She was covered in scars. She'd been chucked out of a van,
Oh,
apparently, and one of the young boys in the van had got out after her and taken her, but he had issues with alcohol, so she wasn't being fed. I don't think he was bad. I think he was just chaotic, to be honest.
uh-huh.
So this
Yeah.
couple in Ayr that seemed to be the kind of couple that knew everyone had taken her off of him. He'd asked them to because he couldn't cope with her, and they said that they
Uh-huh.
would source a good home for her, kind of a thing. So she was very, very skinny. She's still got quite a few scars and stuff. I don't think she was massively badly treated, but I think she was not well treated. She hadn't been
Yeah.
in a
Uh-huh.
house really. She didn't really know what stairs were. There was all these kind of a things. So us being us decided that we would take her on, but it has been a journey. It really has been a journey. She has
Yeah.
a lot of issues with reactivity, because of what she's been through. Do you know?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, and I think as well, she came to us just before lockdown as well, so the lack of socialization during that
Yeah.
time is not good.
Yeah, totally.
We've worked with a lot of different people. Obviously, we know that it's not about fixing a dog, it's about working to make her feel as safe as she can
Yeah,
feel.
that's it. That was exactly what we had to do with Zane. I
Yeah,
had to learn when I first went to we worked with John at the Glasgow Dog Behaviour and Training Consultant, and John said to me, it's you that needs to be trained
yeah,
first of
it is.
all. And
Yeah.
that was about 16, 17 years ago. So
Mhm.
that was like before, I'd started kind of on my professional journey with dogs. And he was
Yeah.
like, your anxiety is making him react. He was like, so I need to train that out of you before we can then train the dog. And it was like unlike any sort of training I had ever been to before, because it was like working with your dog as a team rather than
Yeah.
you're the
Yeah.
dominant person and
I
and I
know.
just this blew my mind, because I was
Yeah.
just like, this is amazing, like this is
Mhm.
so me, this is how I want to work with my dog. And people thought I was mad. I mean, way back then dogs were just dogs, weren't they? I mean, they
I
weren't
know,
part of
and
the
everybody,
family.
I
So
know, and everybody believed in dominance and all that nonsense as well at that time.
yeah.
So, yeah,
And people thought I was mental. I mean, I remember like my mum and dad going, "It's a dog," and I'm like, "No, it's part of the family. He's my baby, and I need to
absolutely.
learn how to help him. I need to
Hmm.
understand how he can be, you know, and as part of our family, how he can live his best life."
Hmm.
And you know, over the years we just adapted things, and you'll go through that too. You
Yeah.
adapt things, like a day at the beach. Grant would go with the kids and Ziggy in one direction, and I would go off with Zane in another direction, and then we would meet up and maybe have like coffee in the car, because Zane
Yeah.
couldn't go to like coffee shops and things like that. We just adapted things to suit him, and he
Yeah.
had the most wonderful life. He really did,
Yeah.
and I suppose that's kind of what you have to do as well.
Yeah, it is. And we worked with Katie from the Ethical Dog training company thing. I
Yeah,
can't remember exactly what the name is. We've done loads of stuff, and I mean, we couldn't touch her for the first 6 months that she was here. She was so frightened, even of, us kind of thing. So I feel like we're never going to be able to go to like a busy beach and let her off lead, it's just never going to happen. She's never going to be able to come into coffee
yeah,
shops, whatever. But we've got her to a point where, or she's got herself to a point where we can cope with lots of things, and that's probably as much as we can
yeah,
expect at the moment. So we have a caravan down in the Galloway Forest, because basically if you go hiking in the woods down there, you meet no one. So it's where we
uh,
all go just to de-stress, because then there's no issue. We can walk around where
yeah,
we live, and if dogs are on leads and stuff like that, she can now pass them, which is a massive, massive, massive milestone to be able to do that. But the problem we're finding is an awful lot of people are walking their dogs off lead or on extendables. And if a dog runs up to her face, like she can't
yeah,
cope with that. And I can understand why she can't, because that's coming back to when she was a puppy and she was probably terrified all the time.
Yes, of
So I can
course.
understand that. So we just make sure that when we're out, we do walk locally so she's experiencing things, but we go out at like 7 a.m., or 6 a.m. in summer kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, that's
If
it.
we,
You find
Mhm. You
what
find what
suits
you
her. But
do.
I suppose as you're saying that as well, like humans, I mean, we wouldn't want someone right there
No,
in
I
our
know.
faces. You'd be like, get out
Exactly.
of my face.
I know.
But people tend to
Totally.
think because dogs react to that, that oh, that dog's bad. But
I
actually, she's just
know.
telling you,
Oh,
get out of my face,
she's
get
just saying,
lost.
please, give me some space. Totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wee thing. She's
Oh,
also a kind of lurcher. We think she's more of a long dog in that she seems to be like Saluki Whippet, possibly. So
okay.
she's a bit
Okay.
smaller than Rudy, but she's got really big paws. So I think she's a wee bit, her growth maybe being a bit stunted from lacking nutrition, when she was
Oh,
young.
God love her.
Yeah, I know, because she was so skinny. She really was. Um, so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking over at her there. So she's kind of like fawney coloured, just that kind of very sulky type face and things. But she's an absolute sweetheart. In the house, she's an absolute sweetheart. She's an absolute sweetheart with dogs that she knows when she plays with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we just have to go with what she can cope with and just, appreciate that.
That's just wonderful because it just sounds like you've just created such an amazing
Mm.
life. You've got this fabulous business that you absolutely love, and then you've got your two amazing little buddies, just to kind of keep you company and help you on the way there.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably like a really lovely way to kind of wrap this up when we've covered all the love for our dogs.
Yeah.
But Suzanne, how can people get in touch with you? Could you just let us know where you are?
Yeah, I'm mainly on LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook as well. So Instagram is at the dot Curious Wolf, and LinkedIn is just my name, Suzanne Ulf. I'm just there. The Curious Wolf is there as well, but I'm not on that much. So yeah, the Curious Wolf. Or my website is thecuriouswolf.co.uk. So lots of
Brilliant, thank
things.
you. I will get links off you and I will share them in the show notes anyway, so that if people want to contact you directly, they can.
Yeah.
And yeah, is there anything coming up over the next wee while that you would like to promote or anything that you can tell our audience about?
No, not really. I think the journaling club will always be there, and I think January is a nice time to start thinking about that and starting that habit. Like just creating that habit. So maybe that, but yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah,
no.
brilliant. And as I say, all your links will be in the show notes anyway, so people can reach out and get in contact with you. So
Brilliant.
thank you so much for being my guest today. That was such a lovely chat. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the latest edition of the Dog Witch podcast. Don't forget to tune in to our next episode soon.